Hi, I'm Sam, and today I'm going to try out Claude Cowork in order to help me achieve this goal I have, which is to upload consistently on this channel and review basically the latest AI product releases. So I'm going to see if Cowork on Claude actually does some work for me that makes the objective of becoming a consistent uploader easier. And in the process, I'm going to share the things I learned along the way, and hopefully you can also learn. So the first thing is that you need to download the actual Claude desktop app. This will be an app that lives on your MacBook and not just accessed via browser. And the reason you need this is because Claude Cowork is going to run on your physical computer device, so that even when you step away from it, it's able to execute tasks. And it's also going to access your local files and folders and stuff. So that's why it needs to be this app. So yeah, first step is just downloading it for Mac OS and then running it. One misconception I had for the longest time while I was using Claude is that I was using mainly Claude Chat and Claude Code, and I thought Claude Cowork was like a team solution, where multiple people remotely work on projects, and it was more of like a enterprise team solution. But now I've learned that Cowork means you co-work with an AI agent. That was confusing. I think the naming convention is confusing. And then the other clarification I learned is, well, what's the difference between asking a chat something, right, and asking Cowork to do something, like define a task? So what's the difference between just sending a chat and defining a task? So what I learned is that a chat is essentially linear. Like, you ask it a question, it generates a response, and then you ask it a follow-up question, it generates a response. Versus a task is something that doesn't require your active participation at every step. Perhaps it only requires it at the beginning when you define what the task is. And then it's able to do these multi-step work that's not just sequential and linear in that manner. So examples of this would be, and keep in mind this app will have access to your actual computer. So for instance, you can ask it to organize my downloads folder by type and name, or clean up my screenshots, or hey, I have all these receipts in a particular folder and I want you to go through them and generate an expense report for me. So it can do all those things. So these things are multi-step. They're not just simply asking a chat to do something. I guess you could attach all of your receipts to a particular chat and be like, generate an expense report. But you see how cumbersome that is versus just creating a task to do it. And this is a simple example, but the type of work you can get the agent to do in Cowork is far more efficient than you manually doing it just through the chat interface. I'm also still getting used to these different components, but basically there's two things which are, well, actually there's three things. There's skill, and there's connectors and plugins. So from what I know, connectors are basically like apps that you want to connect to Claude Code so that you can do things with it. Sorry, not Claude Code, Claude Cowork. So if I can, Google Drive is this example here, would be the, if I connected Google Drive, then I can ask Claude Tasks to generate summaries and briefs for me and save those reports into this particular folder in my Google Drive. Or another easy example is if I wanted to give me an overview of all the events I attended the last week and who I should follow up on, then I would add Google Calendar as a connector. From what I understand about plugins, plugins are tasks seem to be just general purpose things. Like, it has a general knowledge about how to deal with calendars, drives, and things like that. But if you want a specific skill, designing a web page really well according to the latest principles of UI UX design, that's where a plugin is helpful. It just combines a bunch of things together. So we can see here it says design. There's a design plugin that's specifically specialized in creating and accelerating design workflows. So that's that. And then skills, honestly, don't entirely understand skills yet, but we're going to work through it iteratively. Okay, that's a lot of talking, so let's actually start some doing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a project in order to organize everything into this thing. So my project will be, okay, so I'm going to set up a new project. It's going to be called Simple AI YouTube channel. This is a bit meta because this is a video there. Instructions. So I don't quite know what my instructions are, but I know what my goal is. My goal is, it says click, okay. I don't have any files, so I'm just going to create this. It created a folder for me in my computer. Okay, so the first task that I think is very simple is to just get a daily digest of the latest AI news and releases. While this is waiting, I just want to share. Normally, if I want to like figure out what's happened or what's trending, what's released, you know, I would go on Product Hunt, Hacker News, X, etc., or Reddit. But okay, so this is an example of my digest for May 23. So I'm just going to quickly read over it. Okay, so this is kind of like an overview of all the news. What I'm actually interested in is more products, like things I can actually test and do. I kind of want to avoid being caught up in the hype cycle. I just simply want to know like the things that are released and their practical applications. I just gave it feedback that I want. Okay, this is still quite not what I want. So what I'm going to do is go back and forth a lot on this to get this to an output that I feel is useful for me to glance at every morning. So I'm still not getting this output in a way that I find useful. I'm going to see if I can connect. I asked it if it can, like, you know, look at my news feeds of like apps I'm logged into, like X and Twitter, and tell me like what's relevant to me that's trending. But it said it can't do that. And then I recalled that there's a Claude Chrome extension that basically can go into my logged in apps and read those things. So that's what I'm going to set up now. So if I go to settings and I go to Claude Chrome, I have to go to the Chrome store. Okay, I'm going to add this to Chrome. Okay, so it's telling me that I have to be careful. There's some unique challenges. Okay, malicious actors can hide instructions in websites and emails and documents that trick AI into taking harmful actions without your knowledge. I've set up the Chrome Claude. I have opened my tabs and allow Claude to use the browser on X. Allow. So it tried to access my like personal news feeds through the Chrome extension. It tried X. It says that X is JavaScript heavy, so it's taking a while to render posts. It says Reddit is blocked because it's unsafe. I hit my usage limit, and I think it's due to perhaps the Chrome extension. Initially, I thought I could do a whole overview and tutorial of Claude Cowork in one sitting, but now I think I have to break it down. I think the learning curve is a bit steep, and particularly to like get it exactly how one wants. So the end of this video will simply be getting this daily digest of AI product releases and news, which I can cover on this channel. I'm giving up on like the custom feed generation. I'm just asking it for general trending topics and technology and AI on X, because that's like really where a lot of people post things immediately. Okay, so it used Grok AI, which is the AI tool in X itself, to ask it for what was trending to then send it back to me, which is very finicky, but let's see if it's helpful. And one other thing I noticed is that the usage gets significantly used when you use the Chrome agent. So I will not be using the Chrome agent actually, because it just uses so much tokens. Like if I look at it here, like makes 32 tool calls and does all this thing for a payoff that I feel like is not very worth it. Like this is not very interesting. So I'm gonna stick with like non-custom news feeds, just things that can access publicly. I'm gonna try off camera and go back and forth with this thing a ton to see if I can actually get it to give me a useful digest that is more efficient than what it requires me to just browse and look at these things. Hi, I finally got the output the way I wanted to. So some things I realized is that running the Chrome agent, it like burns through tokens. I think right now it's too expensive to use as like a general purpose thing unless one has a very specific task that they want to do. Like even the examples here of finding restaurants and unsubscribing from email chains, like these tasks are not valuable enough to justify the token consumption. But also just in general, like using Claude Cowork, because it does all these processes, it like uses more tokens. Yeah, I'm just basically, since I started using Cowork to attempt to create this digest of daily news, it's just like burning through my tokens. And normally when I just use Chat or Claude Code, I don't really use that much tokens. So that's one thing. So, and then the other thing is like, yeah, I'm not going to use Claude in Chrome. One reason is the token cost, and then the other reason is that it's like risky. People might inject malicious things as your like Claude scraper is going through a page or something, and it might do things to your data or personal information and things like that. So like the risk and reward right now, I feel like it's too skewed. So I'm going to disable it. So I'm going to go back to my settings and block the extension. And then I'm also going to go to my Chrome and also remove it. I went back and forth a lot. I think one thing I appreciate now is that in the marketing of these products, they usually show the output of how easy it is. You just prompt something and then there's output. But I think the truth is you have to spend quite a significant amount of time really planning and thinking about how you want the AI to do. I finally got my sources, the way to access them, and the output the way I want it. So basically, it's going to look at these sources that focus mostly on consumer-facing AI products, and then it tells me the product and the pricing, what it does, a potential hook for the video, and then like what the steps would be for filming. So I'm pretty happy with this, and I think this is more productive, and I believe I'm going to be modifying and improving this, and this is kind of like a first draft, but I like it so far. So I want to turn this into a reoccurring task, so I'm going to do that step now. Turn this into a reoccurring. What time would I like the digest to be delivered? 6 a.m. Daily AI product digest for Sam's YouTube channel, consumer-facing tools only every day at 6 a.m. Cool, these are my sources. Format, schedule. You're all set every morning at 6 a.m. Da-da-da-da. The task only runs while the Claude desktop app is open. If it's closed at 6 a.m., it'll run the moment you open it next. That's fair. Sometimes I turn off my laptop at night, so I might turn it on at 8 a.m., but it will just pick it up. So let's go back to our project. We have our first scheduled reoccurring task. So it's set to practice running it now to see what happens. So let's do that. Practicing running. So this is the steps for the task. And then, yeah, I'm going to click this to close that. It has finished running and it's produced the following. First, it's an overview of my digest, and then it gives me some other information. Product hunt was dominated by Mac, menu bar utility items, and my sources. So if I click my actual digest, if I do this, close that, and do that, this seems like it's a markdown file. So these are the products that I could potentially review. This tells me whether it's free. I love that. And then what I would actually like test out. I like that. It gives me an overview that's like really succinct and clear. So this is actually really helpful for me to get up every morning and just like review this with no bouts of distraction possible to like get engaged in like a comment section where they're going back and forth about something trivial, but which my natural curiosity is pulled towards. And then it seems like the other thing I can do is like put this into like a Google Drive, which I can open. Now I'm wondering if that's helpful or not. The next step for me will be to like hook this into a project management software. And again, the goal for me is to post consistently on this channel and kind of grow this channel. So I'm going to call it a day for now. This is part 1. We got our first task scheduled. We learned a lot. We learned about Claude Chrome and how it's not that useful right now and like spends a lot of tokens. But and we also learned that prompt engineering, I guess, is kind of underrated. You actually need to know what it is that you ask something, and it does take a bit of time and effort to get something exactly as you wanted. And the initial phase, such as like defining a task, but then over time, you know, you don't have to think about it. But initially, I think it requires a bit of investment in time and effort. So this concludes this video. If you have feedback, I'd love to know. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe.